All right, we're going to get a new 30-minute game. We get the black pieces again. E4, C6, open for D4, D5. My opponent taking full center. We get the hillbilly attack again. It's the same idea that I had in my previous game. Not too scary. Obvious options for the bishop are drop back to B3 or advance to B5 with check. I think we saw that the correct engine move is, bishop out to F5. I do like that idea, but I don't want to play that immediately. I like blocking this check here on C6. So let's go and get our bishop out. E6. Bishop out to D6. Get castled. Okay, so they move their bishop again, pinning our knight to our king. Nothing really to be worried about there. They might entertain notions of exchanging here, which I don't mind. This B7 pawn is often a weakness in the caro-kann, so yeah, I don't mind trading that off if that's what it comes to. We'll get our knight out to E7, both to reinforce this knight and to prepare castling. I like our position so far. Our opponent is just going to sort of play these waiting moves that don't put a lot of pressure on our position, which I am A-okay with. If they want to let us develop by just playing a bunch of pawn moves, it's fine by me. There we go. They get D4 out on the board, which as we've seen is a very good move. Not developing that potentially gives our light squared bishop a very good parking spot. Yeah. So that's good for us. They take. Here an option we can take with our knight or take with our pawn. I like taking it with our pawn a little bit better. I think this knight ultimately wants to land on F5. So if we have an option to do that, I'm going to take it. Also, as I mentioned, this B7 pawn sometimes becomes a weakness in the caro, so I like taking with that. Now we have the option to push, too, if we want to drop our knight onto C6 instead. Our opponent gets their dark squared bishop out. We'll go ahead and get castled. Nothing too crazy. Hoping a little bit to see, like, knight out. Like, knight out, maybe we can exchange the knight. That seems less likely now. Alright. What are we going to do from here? We have really all the time in the world. We can do pretty much whatever we want. We could push here. If they take, we can take back with our bishop, or we could move our rook over to C8 and then push and potentially double up our rooks on the C file, which is probably going to be open, or semi-open at least. We could put our queen on B6, threatening this B2 pawn now that their dark squared bishop has moved out. That also threatens this D4 pawn, which can get a little bit dangerous if we want to start just like snapping up pawns with our queen. So we just have to be a little bit cautious about that. If they want to reinforce, then we can take this pawn and threaten their knight as well. Not reinforce, if they want to threaten our queen. Okay, so they don't do anything to defend the B2 pawn. We could move out to B8 in order to sort of protect. Let's see. Takes rook out. We can't take even if we're reinforced because this knight is going to cause problems for us. But yeah, if we get our bishop out, or if we get our rook out to B8, then when we move our queen away, we are then threatening their rook, and that looks a little bit better. Cool, so let's do that first. And then we're just going to start picking up a whole bunch of pawns. We could even potentially... Okay, they push their pawn. Probably a good move. could potentially take here if we can reinforce the A file, perhaps with our queen. If we move our queen over to A6, that prevents castling for our opponent because the king can't move through this check. I like that idea. Let's take a look at that. Well, I guess the issue with this is if we take here, then we sort of self-pinned our bishop to our queen, and that doesn't look quite as good. Maybe we drop our queen back to c7, or we could play like bishop back, push, queen over here to prepare this battery. This checkmating battery that delivers checkmate on h2 is often an idea that I like in the caro and works pretty well around this rating. So maybe we do that. Let's, I think we push here first. No, we need to get our rook out so we can support it. Yeah, let's do that first. Rook to c8. We got all our pieces developed. It's looking really nice. Our knight is sort of awkwardly placed on e7, entertaining the idea of getting it out like this. That doesn't look too bad. That's supported by our dark square bishop. Okay, they move out, hitting our queen. And here we can't take any of the pawns that we were threatening to take originally. So we can drop our queen back to maybe all the way back to d8, actually, so we can prepare this battery like that. That looks pretty good to me. And then as their knight isn't really threatening anything too gruesome. Yeah. We push, they take, we take. They want to take back, we can take with our rook, and then double up on the c file. They have the opportunity to castle here. That's sort of what I'm hoping for. Actually, I think we might have better ideas. If we can get everything lined up on the c file, we have our bishop attacking that c2 square, and that looks like it could get very dangerous very quickly. So maybe we push here first. Ooh, they push with their pawn. Neat idea. So now this push is a little bit less threatening. So takes, or push, takes, and if we take, they take back with their pawn. Maybe, well, we can't push a5 because they take, and then they have this dark square bishop defending it. Maybe we could move our dark square bishop down to c7 where we want it to be anyways, to support that idea. And if they want to push further, then that's bad news for them. Get their knight out. Okay, they've got this nice stronghold on c5 for their knight. Still, this idea of pushing to a5 looks really good. It threatens one of the pawns in their stronghold. This is the stronghold, 2 pawns supporting the knight. And their knight isn't really threatening to go anywhere terrible, I don't think. Maybe out to a6, but we can move our rook without too much hassle. So I don't think that's a problem. So let's go ahead and threaten their stronghold. And if they do want to take here, and we do this exchange, okay, yeah, so their knight comes out. We move, I guess we can move our rook up to prepare, or I guess, yeah, we move our rook over to a8, I think. Actually, I really want to hang on to our bishop, and I don't know if that's going to be an option. So I think, yeah, rook over. Probably they'd take, unfortunately, and then we could take back with our queen. Okay. Not the end of the world, but not exactly what I wanted. Okay. A8. They might go back or they might take. Taking is probably the move, I would say, because I think getting rid of our very good dark squared bishop that's very mobile and can control a lot of squares with all these pawns and light squares. It can sort of flit between our pawns there. But if they want to move back to the stronghold, I think that starts to look bad for them. Yeah, so we can do this. If they want to take here, I think that's fine. We can push. Ooh, they get their other knight into the game. Very interesting. Is that threatening to come anywhere particularly nasty? Maybe threatening. I mean, that pawn is so well guarded on c6. I don't think that's threatening to do anything. So I think we can take here. No, our pieces aren't really forkable. Maybe our king and our bishop, but that would be on e7. And any knight that wants to come to e7 needs to go to a square that is attacked by this knight first. So I don't think that's going to work. We could go ahead and take here. You can't exactly push here. Because when we push, they take, and then maybe we get our knight out to scare their knight away. Oh no! If we push, and they take with their bishop, I guess they get a nice stronghold. But if we push and they take with their pawn, then their knight is left hanging. We could also get our knight out. I guess we could push f6 instead to scare off their knight. Another option is bishop takes. No, that doesn't work. So bishop takes, queen takes, knight takes on c6, but then our rook also guards that c6 square, so I'm not worried about that. So yeah, I think I like f6 here, actually. They don't have a light squared bishop to attack down this file, and then we have these nice pawns on e6 and d5 in the way. So let's get that out of here. Push them away in this manner, and then do we want to keep pushing and drive this d4 pawn out of here? I think we might. All right, so they get out of our business for a moment at least. If we push here and they take, then we can get our knight out, which looks good, hitting their dark squared bishop. We could hit their knight again like this. That doesn't look quite as good. I like the idea of driving out this d4 pawn. If we push, just the advantage of pushing c5 here is like our knight gets this really nice square on c6 from which it threatens sort of all sorts of nasty ideas. So we gotta make a decision. Do we push our e6 pawn or our c6 pawn? I guess if we push c6 and they take with the pawn, then we can push e5 fearlessly, and that recreates this nice structure here. So let's do that. This pawn will only be defended by our knight. Okay, so they take with their bishop. I think we can come out over here. Yeah. They finally castle. Okay. Then we could push here, threatening this pawn, and then I think threatening to win their dark squared bishop. There we go. There we go. They take, we can take back, and then we can win their dark squared bishop. Oh, interesting. They reinforce with their pawn. It's a good move. That is a pawn that we could attack pretty effectively. Maybe queen out and then queen takes, but they have an easy way to reinforce it. Although I guess if they reinforce it with their rook, then we can take this pawn. That looks pretty nasty. Let's see, other options. Working our knight out like this looks kind of like a neat idea. Knight on c4 doesn't threaten anything too nasty. I guess it does allow us to... No, it doesn't quite allow us to take this pawn because their bishop is guarding that pawn. We could push here, pushing their knight back to... What squares can their knight go to if we push there? Occupied by a piece, occupied by a piece, loses the knight. Those two... okay, so they have a number of squares that they can retreat to. That doesn't look quite as good. If we take here, they take back, and they still have this nice outpost for their bishop. I guess takes. They take back with their queen, we can take with our queen, and our piece is reinforced. So how does that work? Takes. Knight takes pawn. Queen takes knight. Queen takes bishop. So I think that puts us up a pawn, because if queen takes queen, rook takes queen. That puts us up a pawn again. I think that seems decent, yeah. So let's... I guess they have... if they have knight takes on d4, then... maybe we put our knight onto e5 and threaten their bishop. Now this open diagonal is looking a little bit more fragile, and maybe they have the idea of like queen out. Oop. They take. We'll take back. They take with their queen. We take with our queen. Now material is even, as it should be. We could potentially take this pawn. So they take, we can take back. We have a protected passer that we'll want to be very careful with. I think if we do trade queens, we'll activate our king pretty quickly after that. Okay. I think this might be a good trade for us. I think queen for 2 rooks is supposed to be a good trade. So it's like takes. Then I guess they have queen takes on d5 after that. No, they need to respond to the check. So it's takes with check. King goes up to h2, and then we have a moment to respond. So we could do something like bishop to e4. I feel good about that. Takes, takes, takes. They have a queen. They have a queen and a knight. We have 2 rooks and a bishop. It's a tough choice. We take here. They take here. What if we took here first? I guess then they have takes, takes, queen moves, takes. No, that's awful. That loses a ton of material. I'm thinking we could drop our queen back to block this escape square. Drop our queen back. If they take, we take back. And then maybe they can push their pawn, but then maybe we have back rank ideas. So it's a big decision. Do we take the queen for 2 rooks? I probably can't play well enough to win queen versus 2 rooks. So I think we drop back to d6. If they want to trade, that's fine by me. Knight can't go anywhere, too disruptive. Our bishop is hanging. I might drop it back to g6 if it's threatened. g6 or advance it to... Actually, advancing it to e4 looks really good since we get that nice... I guess if they do something like knight out to h4 and we do this, then they have f3, which looks nasty. They are perhaps preparing to double their rooks. I think here we take, because this is going to be really hard to deal with. Yeah, we take here. They take back with their queen. And then... Yeah, I mean, we certainly can't take this pawn now. So let's trade off these rooks. Now we could potentially scare away their knight and then push our pawn up to hit their queen. That looks kind of cool. We do like this. Or maybe knight just comes out to d4, and then we can't do anything about that. We could hit their queen with rook to c8, protected by our light-squared bishop, and just sort of harass the queen a little bit, get it to a slightly better square. Or get our rook to a slightly better square. I like that idea. Obviously, their queen has a million squares to go to. So we're not going to trap it anytime soon, but we have some neat options there. Let's do that. Rook to c8. Drive their queen somewhere else. Queen over to b3. We potentially have, like, bishop over here, just further threatening. If we push our pawn and they take, then we have queen takes hitting their rook with check, and that looks really nice. We got some neat ideas. I think we should start focusing on pushing our pawn. I think I want that to be the plan for now, is push our pawn, and if they want to make trades about it, that's fine by me. I guess push takes. If their queen comes out to, like, e3, that doesn't look quite as good for us. Because then push takes, and then we don't have any, we can't recapture with our queen because their queen simply takes our queen. Okay, they move back to b2. Rook to b8 is an option. Seems a little silly. We can't push because their queen still defends this d4 square. Is there anything we can do about that? We could try to scare their knight away. I think that's probably the move. Scare their knight away. If their knight comes to d4, we can pin it, I guess. Pin it to the queen. And then maybe our rook comes up. Well, then they have like back rank ideas, which looks nasty. I don't want to encourage back rank mate if I can avoid it. Other options, I mean, we could send these pawns up. I like having this structure in front of our king a little bit, although I don't think they're very likely to, I don't know, push their pawns any further. So let's see if we can trade off this knight. Well, what happens with knight to d4? We come out and pin. Is that really that effective? They don't have any checks available to them. It seems effective. Yeah, let's do that. And if we take here, they take and they open up that spot in front of their king, and that looks really nasty. We could also push f5 here and create a really nice stronghold for our bishop. I don't know if that accomplishes anything for us, but it just looks nasty. I guess then they can come down to g5, which I don't hate it, but I don't love it either, you know. And we can scare their knight away, and then maybe knight comes out to like one of these squares. I guess if knight comes out to d2, that's hitting our bishop. We could do like that. No, they take, we take, and then they take. Oh, that looks gross. Okay, so that's good to know that these squares are sort of not knight forkable, but a knight could make subsequent attacks on those squares, and that would be dangerous for us. Yep. And then I think we pin. And they don't have any good squares they can go to. I guess like here. No, they just lose their queen. I guess that's interesting, is that if they do like knight to here, we take their queen, and then they have knight to e7, forking our king and our rook. If we move our king, they take, and then we take their rook with check. So then it's a queen and a bishop against a knight, and I don't think that's a very profitable endgame for our opponent. So a neat idea would be if we could get our bishop out of the way with check. We could take the rook, but we cannot do that. So I think I like the idea of rook up to c4. Unfortunately, if their queen tries to come down to b8, we have queen takes on b8. So let's put some more pressure on the rook. We can't... I guess we could do like rook over to b8, hitting their queen directly, but I like putting more pressure on this pinned piece. Let's put as much pressure as we can on this knight that is suddenly very fragile. I think perhaps rook to d8 would have been a stronger move for our opponent. And I wonder... I guess I thought maybe we had ideas. Yeah, that's a good move. I thought maybe we had ideas of like bishop out takes check, but it doesn't quite hit their rook. And I don't think they move anywhere threatening from there. So takes, 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 takes. We lose that exchange. Don't have a way to threaten their rook. We could take this pawn. Their king takes. And then we have like check here. But again, I don't think that accomplishes anything for us. Fortunately, their knight can't move out of the way. We move like out here. I guess that's interesting. So like bishop out, rook takes, queen takes with check. or queen moves to e1 with check, king out to d2, and then I don't think we have anything. We don't have any ideas from there. Oh, there's must be some tactic here. You just tell sometimes. Maybe we push this pawn up. That seems good. Yeah, let's push that pawn. We have these back rank ideas blocked, which is really nice. We can push this pawn up and up and up. And if they want to, I guess if we push all the way up, push, push, they can push here, and then we're sort of stuck again. Oh, that's interesting. They push f3 immediately. We take here, they take back, and then we have check. Oh, we win the rook with this. Yeah, so bishop takes on f3. They need to do pawn takes on f3 because knight takes loses their queen. Their knight is pinned. So takes, takes. Queen comes over to g3 check. Their king's legal squares are h1 and f1. From there, we move our queen to f3. Either way, we're putting them in check. Oh, no, we can't do that because their knight is in the way. So we might need to clear out their knight first. This is looking like checkmate territory, though. Or, like, winning a piece territory. And regardless, we can't move our light squared bishop anywhere else profitable. I guess if we moved over here, if they take with their knight, we win their queen. And if they take with their queen, we also win their queen. So that's a safe spot for our bishop. Actually, yeah, let's do that. Let's get it out of the way. And then that leaves us this really nice looking check. Yeah. Cool. So they can't take with either of the pieces that are threatening our bishop. And we're hitting their rook, so their rook needs to come over or come up or something. The rook comes up, we come here with check, and then the game is over. All right. We got about 9 minutes left on the clock. Our opponent has like twice as much time as us, so we need to be very careful about time pressure. Queen to e3 is very likely our next move. Yeah. So let's pick up this rook. Queen to e3. Check. They move their king. We pick up their rook. Is there anything else we can do here? I don't think so. Takes here. Queen comes down. Up. They might have some sort of checkmating idea that looks a little bit dangerous, so we'll need to be cautious. Other option, queen back, driving their king back somewhere maybe. Back to one of these two squares. Let's throw in this check first because it's not going to hurt anything, and it might drive their king to a slightly better square for us. Or if they push g3, then it's exceptionally bad for our opponent. Or if they go back to like h1, for example, then we take the rook. Okay, so I don't think that does anything for us. So we take. Expecting queen down to b8. Yep. We have... Do we have any other legal moves? Moving our rook simply forfeits our rook. So I think, yeah, f7 is effectively forced. But they don't have any other checks they can throw at us, I don't think. Knight comes out, loses the knight. Any of these squares, really. Anything that would help help them attack us. Okay, so queen moves. Let's proceed thoughtfully. Rook again loses the rook. Down seems very bad because they can just sort of wiggle back and forth between the A and the B file, or the 7th and 8th rank. So maybe we move up here and try to get behind our pawn here and get into the protection of our other pieces. Eventually our opponent will run out of checks. Maybe queen up to b6 looks pretty good. And then I don't think they can hit us anymore. Yep. Up to g5, they have knight to e6 check, and we don't have any way to recapture. So I think king to h5, they have like that, which looks kind of nasty. Ugh. I'm not loving this, and we don't have a ton of time to do any intense calculations. We are up a rook, though, so if there's a way to get in a queen trade, I think I will take it. Otherwise, yep. So takes, let's see, if we move up here, they have like queen to f4 check, which looks really bad. I guess then we have g5, which could be our saving grace. Oh no, then they have knight. No, if they have knight check, then we have our light squared bishop is defending that pawn, or defending that square. So I think maybe we take here, because they don't have a way, because we have this pawn on d5, they don't have a way to get over to that square, so let's take first. Expecting to see like takes or takes, and then we move up further, or I guess up, they have no, and then our queen guards that square, so yeah, let's move up. If they move over here, we have this to defend. If they do this, we have this. In time pressure, I feel like I'm a little bit less able to annotate the moves, like speak them out loud. So we'll just have to move. Yeah, here we go. We get this trade in. Oh, and now we have mate and one that are pieces out of the way. So let's protect like this, and our opponent has no more checks available to them. We have checkmate on c1. All right, perhaps queen to g5 is the next possible move, but other than that, I don't think they have any other checks available to them. Queen takes on g5, king takes on g5, pawn move, rook to c1 checkmate. Unless they can somehow guard the checkmating square, but I don't see a way they can do that. It would be like queen over to c8. Or perhaps no, their queen is on a dark square. If they could get their queen on f1, that would maybe do it. I'm glad we made it through that. Our opponent had some very strong offensive resources. I'm thankful that we had equally as many defensive resources. I don't see any other winning moves for our opponent. Yep. So they take, we will take back. Perhaps throw in another check here, just make this as forcing as possible. Nope, it's not going to do it. Then we have checkmate on c1. Good game. Let's take a gander at the review. I don't have unlimited reviews. Switch to the analysis board. Let's see how we did. Already, yeah, the hillbilly attack is not good against the caro. I thought perhaps we would have a little bit of an easier game given all the pawn moves that our opponent made in the opening. But it was not the case. Our opponent played very well. Let's see. We had this sort of nice idea along the A, B, and C files. That didn't end up panning out. I think our opponent had some nice defensive resources here. Yep, we lose our dark squared bishop. This was strong and sort of puts the game into more even territory. Game is still pretty much even. We push some pawns further up. And now we're getting into an advantage for white. So what was my miss here? I think it was moving our knight out to c6. This trade idea that I engineered was no good. So the better move would have been queen to a5 check, getting that check in there before they have the chance to castle. Or perhaps e5, threatening that pawn. So let's annotate these. Queen to a5 check, hitting their king. I guess, I don't know why they don't just have, like, bishop back here. It seems like a really good resource that I guess we've sort of scared away their bishop. I don't know. Did they have bishop? Yeah, bishop b4 is the right move. And then bishop takes c2 is showing up as the strongest move for... What in the world? Oh, I see. It's protected by... yeah, very cool. Okay, cool. So some neat ideas there. You have those pieces cleared in a hurry. We have this... this was much stronger. Knight takes on... Oh, I see. Oh, yeah. Because we're gonna lose this bishop. I didn't calculate far enough. So if we do that, then they take on f5, and we don't have any recourse. Whew. So I'm glad they went for the queen takes, and that allows us to keep material more or less even. Queen takes on c1 check as a slight advantage for black, but it's so slight. I'm glad we went drop back to d6 instead. Queen takes on d4 also is about even. This gives some advantage for white, but we're able to you fight them off and keep the game more or less even. Yeah, and then we have a lot of maneuvering, getting closer and closer to their king here. Bishop to c2 is the only good move here. And then we're showing like a substantial edge for black. So this f3 move, it looks innocuous, it looks good, but it drives our bishop to the only square that it wants to be on, and this looks really bad for our opponent. Yeah. So we did have the option of queen to f4 check, just throwing that in there to drive the king back to the back rank. Queen takes, and then very dangerous attack to follow. I think we handled it about as well as we could. Yeah, avoiding those knight checks seems to have been critical. Yeah, we take... Oh, this was a big mistake. Look at this. F takes was much stronger here. Oh, let's look at that. So we missed. This could have been really bad. King to h4 is, I think, what I went for. Knight to f3 check. Oh, look at that. And then they have knight takes on d2. Oh man. So if they had opened up So taking here was a huge mistake. King to h4 just immediately was a stronger move. If we took, and if they had taken with their f3, we move back to h4, and then they fork our king and our queen. Oh, man. That could have been so much worse. Oh, man. I'm super glad that didn't happen. Something to look out for in the future. They did not take back correctly. We move back to h4, and they don't have this fork available to them. And then we're showing like mate in 6, mate in 12 for black. Okay. Yeah. Yep. Mate in 1. Ooh. A close escape. I think we would have been down a queen, but we were up a rook, so it would have been tight. It would have been a really intense end game, and probably with just 5 minutes left in the clock, I don't know if I could have pulled it off. So I'm glad we narrowly avoided that knight fork. That pawn takes on f3 was the right move for our opponent. Close miss. I did not see that. That would have been really nasty to deal with. Cool. That's all for me. Happy to have another win. Pushed us over 1100 once again, so that's feeling really good. I'm gonna call it here. Have a good one, y'all.